We're here on a meeting with the Naples Daily News Editorial Board, and with us is McLeod, who's running for one of the 3 city council seats in Naples, one of the 6 candidates on the ballot. Michelle, thanks for joining us today.
Sure, absolutely.
Can you, first of all, for everybody watching this, can you sort of give us a little bit of information in terms of how long you've lived in Naples and where you came from?
Sure. I am a third-generation Floridian. I was raised in Fort Myers, so not too far away from here. For a little bit about my background, I graduated Fort Myers High, went on then to St. Mary's College in South Bend, Indiana, where I earned my bachelor's degree. And then after college, I started a career in the hotel business, a career that I enjoyed for over 25 years. My last job in the industry was that as the director of sales for the Naples Beach Hotel and Golf Club. And it was around that time that I decided that I wanted to continue my education. So off I went to graduate school in my 40s. I earned my master's in business administration with a concentration in finance from FGCU. I am now a vice president of a family-controlled bank in the city of Naples. I'm also a proud graduate of Leadership Collier, and I have, during this campaign, I've received 2 endorsements from 2 different organizations, primarily because they felt that I was well-versed in community matters as it related to both the public and the private sectors, and then also because I had a well-defined platform of issues for the city. So for the last 20 years, I've lived and worked in the city of Naples, all the while being very actively involved in community service. Most notably, I was the executive director of the Park Shore Association for about 5 years, and I currently serve as the chair for the Community Services Advisory Board for the city of Naples. So with so much vested in my community where I've lived and worked for most of my life, I have a strong desire to be a part of the decisions that will take Naples into the future. My vision for Naples entails an updated community plan that moves us back towards that small town feel. In my platform on my website, you can see the different elements that I've laid out along those lines. And I know that by visiting many city residents, by going door to door now for almost every single weekend for the last 6 months, that the elements of my vision are shared by those in the community. And it really does matter to me what the community thinks. And as a city council person, I will continue the practice of reaching out to residents for their input before decisions are made, because I think together with a unified vision we can move Naples more towards that true sense of community, a community of involved individuals who feel trusting and connected to their leaders.
You're 20 years here. Do you see that that's gone away? Or do you think it's never been here, that connection with the community?
The last couple of years, there's been a concern because, we saw it with the Central Avenue project, we saw it with the Baker Park Avenue, we saw it with the Gulf Shore Median project, that council and staff members moved forward with projects before getting the buy-in from the residents. And then what happens is you see opposition and dissension, and then it also leads to wasted time and money. So I think we've gotten off course a little bit on that, and we really need to get back on course in getting residents involved in decisions. And then it also gives them a sense of purpose too, and that's what we're striving for.
But you just mentioned 3 projects, to go on one by one. Central Avenue, is that a project that you don't support, or is it the fact that the council didn't get buy-in first before proceeding with it? In other words, would you favor some sort of project or improvements on Central, just rather include the residents, or is Central Avenue fine the way it is?
No, basically what happened with Central Avenue is that citizens brought up their concerns as to how to move in and out of that area and then into the downtown area. Business owners shared their concerns for their access to businesses. So I think that if we just worked with them in collaborative efforts and finding out what would work, because it's a great plan. Overall, it's a great plan, but I think we needed to just get the buy-in from the stakeholders before moving forward on the project. But no, I am in support of that.
Baker Park?
Baker Park, that's something I hold near and dear because I serve on the Community Services Advisory Board. It was first presented to my board to vet, and we had decided that, yes, it was important to increase green space in the city, so we unanimously voted to proceed with the purchase of the land. So June 2013, we purchased it for $3 million. Also with the Community Services Advisory Board, we carefully vetted the elements that we thought would be best suited for this community park. Unfortunately, when it went to City Council, it kind of ran away with itself. So that's then the issues that we had to deal with soil matter concerns that weren't addressed prior to, and then getting proper vetting. So I think we're on the right track now with Stantec's giving an option that seems to be a viable one. So we will just proceed with that.
And then the Gulf Shore Boulevard North tree situation, should that not have been done, or should it have just been done differently?
Again, as a city or a member of the Community Services Advisory Board, we also serve as the tree board for the city of Naples. And we repeatedly asked staff to allow us to vet the project, the landscape project for Gulf Shore Boulevard. And it was pretty much said, no, we've got it. We're talking with the appropriate individuals to move forward with this project. And then we see that it was actually only discussed with a select few. So we could have done it better by just taking it through the proper vetting sources and then getting the proper communication out to the residents. So again, that they could feel that they were a part of the project and they were comfortable in moving forward with it.
With your career and all these other community connections that you've got and everything you're involved with, how are you going to juggle the time to serve on the council?
Well, I've always maintained a very high level of activities. I'm also a triathlete, so I have high energy. I have no problems in juggling. And it's just me and my husband totally supports me, so.
There's going to be a pretty significant changeover on the council. Is there anything that this current council has done that you would like to come in and change around and change gears on?
Pretty much the same thing that I've been saying, that because of the recent projects and what we saw where we went wrong with those three specifically mentioned projects, I think basically I would like to spearhead just making sure that we do get proper buy-in from the residents before we move forward on a project, yes.
What about the dock, city dock, for example? That's something that's fairly far down the line, but are you looking to try to take that approach with the city dock before it gets to plan approval specifically?
Absolutely, yes. So we know that the city dock is 95 years old and it's costing about $60,000 in repairs, and now we have a viable option on the table. And yes, I believe that before moving forward, we need to talk to those individuals that are already own or renting slips with us. And just in going door to door too, I was able to talk to some people that are directly connected with the pier, and they have some great ideas. So I definitely think that we need to bring them in to move this project forward.
How is Fifth Avenue South doing, and what might the next council need to do down there to make it better, keep it from getting worse, make it fit in with the neighborhood better?
Right. Well, I have said it from the beginning that I think we need to update our comprehensive plan, because what's happening now is we're approving site plan deviations without any restrictions. And I think we need to get away from the days of just making decisions as we go. I think we need to come up with a well-defined plan and then adhere to it. So there's just some issues that we need to look at to make sure that we are moving in the direction that is the vision of Naples.
Do you foresee another parking garage down there?
Well, as we all know, they're considering underground parking facilities. I've looked at some of the videos and presentations on the engineering of underground parking. I'm not quite sure if that's a viable option, but it's certainly one to look into. The alternatives are finding parking elsewhere on Fifth Avenue, or right now it's set up that the developers can pay $30,000 per parking spots that are required. I mean, some of these developers can just pay that, and so there would be, in my eyes, a deficiency in parking. So I think we need to carefully look at all of the different options.
In your mind, do you have a sort of preferred way that you would like the city to go about getting that kind of input that you're talking about from the citizens? Is it town halls? Is it more workshop meetings? How exactly would you carry that forward?
Okay, well, as the executive director of the Park Shore Association, we managed, about 25% of the residents were members of the association. So that excluded 75% of the residents. I think in today's world, and that's how most homeowners associations are, you pretty much capture about 25% of the residents, but then the other are lacking in receiving the messages from the association. So in the world we live in today with technology, I think that there are so many different ways to get the message out. There's, of course, emails, alerts, newsletters on a more frequent basis via email so that the costs are not too costly for them. So yeah, there's definitely a way of getting the message out to the residents.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, what approach should the city take on two fronts that are kind of related? One is the outflow of water from the city's own drainage basin that is now flowing out to the Gulf. The other is water from the rest of the county that finds its way into the city through Naples Bay, through the canal system and such. How might the city address those two problems, given that one of them largely lies outside the city?
Well, in the city, what we know about that is that there's hundreds of stormwater outfalls into the different lakes and waterways. There is a concern by staff that they want to help rectify what's happening because basically what's in the pipes are weeds and it forms bacteria, and then you see this brownish water that comes out, especially in the summertime during the rainy season. Again, staff is searching ways to improve that. There was a study several years ago, and they came up with 10 alternatives, one of which was pumping the water, as we know, further out into the Gulf. That was a $10 million project, but I would not be in support of that. I think there's other ways that we can work towards solving this project. So we need to look at the other 9 alternatives, and also just there's measures that we can put into place immediately to help with this, educating residents more about the benefits of rain gardens, cleaning out our lakes because they serve as a process where the contaminants can settle before then being pumped out into the bays. There's also, we can increase our street cleaners because they can help eliminate some of the weeds that get into the pipes that build the bacteria. So there's so many different ways, and Dr. Bauer with the Natural Resources Department has done a great job with this, with the floating islands to help absorb the contaminants, with the aerators, the oyster bays, the mangrove bays. There's so many things that he's doing, and there's 3 more projects on the books that they are going to be implementing to even help this process a little bit further. One of which is the cleaning out of the largest stormwater outflow that we have close to Cove Inn, and then creating a berm there that helps absorb the contaminants before they get into the waterway. So there's so much being done along those lines, and I know that he and the Natural Resources Department is working with the county too, because of course we knew that the canals in the Golden Gate area were some of the culprits that were contaminating our bays, but now in redirecting those water flows to areas that need it, I think that that is a great solution, and I know that they're looking at additional ways of helping all that.
As you were going door to door in recent months, what are some of the other things that are on people's minds that would come to your attention on the council?
Well, what's interesting about that is that every neighborhood has different concerns. Of course, the downtown area has concerns with development and the commercial airlines and the commercial airport and traffic and the special events being too much downtown. Park Shore has different issues with landscaping and sidewalk and bike path connectivity. Lake Park has different issues. They're more about small businesses and access into the city to get to their jobs. And so it's just very interesting how there are general concerns, traffic, also maybe speeding down different neighborhood streets. So there are similarities, but then again, they have unique concerns too.
As far as traffic goes, what would you advocate the city do to address that?
So traffic concerns are really, I believe, the impact of the growth in the county. When we talk about traffic, we're specifically talking about traffic on 41 and Goodlet. Those of us who live in the city, we know to take the side streets to get anywhere. We go down Creighton, we go down Bel Air. And for myself, who I've lived here practically all my life, we just know that in season, traffic gets heavy. And then off season, we get a reprieve. And we also know that during good economic times, traffic increases. And during the slow time, we don't see that so much. So there are concerns, but I would propose that we work with the county and support the county's efforts in building sustainable communities out into the county so that those residents do not rely on coming into the city for our shops and restaurants. So having those sustainable communities out there, I think, is a viable alternative to our traffic roads. Also, moving more towards a walkable community, a bikeable community, so we don't see so much of that traffic, protecting the allocated sources to sidewalk and bike path connectivity. There's so much we can do on traffic. We know the general characteristics of traffic in this community, but yes, there's so much that we can do to help alleviate it.
One contributor to traffic would probably be the special events in the city. Has the city struck the right balance of special events versus neighborhood concerns and neighborhood quality of life? Do there need to be fewer events? Maybe there should be more events?
Okay, well, because I'm on the Community Services Advisory Board, we handle special events. And we have talked to a lot of the businesses on Fifth Avenue, a lot of the residents in town. There was also a park master plan that was recently done, and the survey results showed that residents want more special events. So I was in the hotel business, and when you would book business in your hotel, you would manage the space accordingly. You would put the appropriate size group in the appropriate space. And what's happening is I think that we're not we need to better utilize our underutilized parks. For instance, not a lot of people know about Anthony Park. Anthony Park is a fabulous park that we have in the city that's right on the Gordon River. There's no reason why we can't look at doing more special events there and other areas in the city. So I think that we just have to carefully consider it. Now, there are some special events that, I mean, we're bursting out of the seams when we do it in the city. So we need to perhaps look at other venues, maybe even outside of the city. But we have to keep in mind that the residents say they want more special events. So I think we can manage it appropriately where it's not overburdening one particular neighborhood.
In terms of the neighborhoods that have their needs that need to be addressed, what do you see as the needs for the River Park neighborhood?
The River Park neighborhood, well, we just built a fabulous new community pool there, and that's one of my favorite community centers. You go in there, and Mercedes is the director there. She manages that so well. Everything is so well kept. And the swimming pool, I love it because it's first class all the way, and I love that all of the community is starting to utilize that. The triathletes are using that. The Naples High School students are using that. So it's great. And so just making sure, I think River Park just wants to make sure that they are heard. We also need to better manage the redevelopment grant monies that are available to them. As we know, some of those funds that we could have used in River Park are being reallocated in the county, and I think it's just a matter of better management, getting a better control of those funds to be able to utilize that in River Park.
You touched on budgeting and management. With your experience as a banker, do you see deficiencies in the city in terms of how they handle their budget or handle their money?
I think they maintain a healthy level of reserves for any kind of unexpected capital costs that may come up or capital projects for the future. So for instance, with the landscape project in Park Shore and the moorings, that was a mismanagement of funds because we took those funds, we moved forward on a project, and then now, because we didn't get buy-in from the community, we had to allocate another $500,000, and that had to happen because we had to reserve some funds, and then also to show a commitment to the residents that we wanted to make it right. City Council wanted to make it right. So, in some such situations, I think that they do a good job in managing, but then when we find ourselves in these other issues where we're having to fund or provide additional funding to correct mistakes that we've made, that's a concern.
Looking at Baker Park and some of the other big projects coming up, is the level of debt appropriate?
Well, just like in business, sometimes you have to spend money to grow or to add additional projects. I think that the level of debt, there can be a healthy level of debt, but the only time that I would not support increased debt is if it increases taxes to the residents.
Do you have any perception at this point on how you feel the city manager is performing?
I think it's a matter of respect and professionalism. I think that if you have that level of strong respect and professionalism, I think everybody excels. That's what I would like to see for the next city council. And I think that Bill Moss does a good job in communicating with residents, but he's just one man. We all are part of the process.
From the park study, were there any things that came out in your view that the city needs to turn its attention to besides for finishing Baker Park?
Yes. So the park master plan made us realize that the comprehensive plan allots for 2 acres of green space for every 1,000 people. And when you compare that to other similar municipalities, that is far below the bar. So this park master plan, I believe, made us realize that we are deficient in green space and we really need to look at that to make some changes with that. And I'm 100% supportive of additional green space. Community services staff has identified some land in the city for green space, and I think we should move forward in looking at those as viable options.
Even with the addition of Baker Park, does that deficiency still exist?
Yes.
Do you recall off the top of your head where some of those locations might be?
I know that one of them is the empty lot on 41 between Park Shore and Anchor, the old car dealership lot. Yes.
Billboards, there's billboards there now.
Right. There's just billboards. Right.
Michelle, we've got about a minute left here. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to be sure that you got the message out on?
Essentially, you see that I'm a homegrown candidate with a vested interest in my community where I've lived and worked for most of my life. And it's interesting that when we look at the path, when we look back on our lives, we see that there are no coincidences in the paths that we've experienced. I really believe that we're all led and prepared to do significant things in this life. And it's in the paths that I've experienced, my roots, my educational background, my professional experience, my active involvement in the community throughout these years that have prepared me for this role today to join City Council. So I've worked very, very hard to get to this point where to prepare for this opportunity to serve my community in such a significant way. As a city council member, I will work very, very hard to make sure I can achieve some meaningful results to help improve the quality of life for the citizens of Naples. And I would be honored and grateful if I could earn the vote of confidence from the residents so that I can move forward in accomplishing this very important task as a city council member.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.